Hi friends, Abby Sandell from Appalachian Mountain, and I am here with another edition of Abby Answers, your most pressing baby name dilemmas resolved. Today we are going to talk about spelling. Now spelling seems easy at first, right? There's a name, you like it, you write it down on the birth certificate, maybe you embroider it on a baby blanket, and everything just works out perfectly. Not so much. If you spent any time at all on baby naming forums or Facebook groups, you've probably come across somebody either very nicely asking why that parent is spelling their child's name that particular way, or scolding them, use the right spelling. Your child will thank you. Here's the sad truth. Spelling is far more complicated than you would ever expect it to be when it comes to baby names. There are really no correct spellings. I'm sorry, I know. I want the gold star and the A+ on the test too. But correct spellings, few and far between, so much so that I would say they really don't exist. So let's talk about why that is, and let's talk about what to do instead. First, the why. Language. When we're talking about a name like Catherine, a name that's been around for centuries and centuries, it has filtered through so many languages by the time it gets to you and your baby in the United States in 2018 or 2019. My husband's family is Polish, and there Catherine is always spelled with a K. My Italian family, well, I had a great aunt, Catherine, with a C. So some of it's just that easy, that as names have filtered through different languages, different spellings have become perceived as the norm, and as all those different languages and cultures converge in the United States, we have many multiple names that have more than one spelling that feels perfectly valid depending on your roots. Now, that's easy for people to say with names like Catherine because we all acknowledge that they've had history, but the truth is that even more obscure names have gone through that exact process. And so I'm thinking of a name like Alifair, which is this really rare name that I've struggled to find the exact origins for, but as I've looked back in the history books, I've found many multiple spellings. Is it one L or two? Is it an A? Is it an E? So that's just the reality of names. The second part of that we're going to flow naturally into is that the process of standardization is very new. Think about this. If someone wrote a letter to your grandmother and misspelled a word, would she have ever noticed? I mean, maybe, right? Maybe your grandmother was a really good grammarian and a great speller, and she would notice if you misspelled a word. Today, if someone sends me an email, or when I send an email and I've misspelled a word, it's underlined in a little red squiggle. It's like mistake, mistake, mistake. And so we have a very different expectation about someone's ability to spell things correctly, or at least correctly as it is understood by whatever device we're typing on at that particular moment. And so that has opened up this world of possibilities to know which spelling is correct. Sort of. Because of course if you look in the dictionary, we've got plenty of English language words like theater. Is it ER or RE? I'm pretty sure ER is standard in American English, but nobody is going to fault you if you spell it RE instead. Did I say that right? Anyway, so standardized spelling is relatively new. It's a phenomenon that is less than 100 years old, really owes its whole possibility to the existence of databases and to us all having these really powerful devices at our fingertips. What that means, again, is that Catherine with a K, Catherine with a C, my own grandmother's name was not spelled identically in every record. If you look back at the wives of Henry VIII, he married 6 times, 50% of them, 3 of them were Catherine. Their names are spelled differently in the history books. Their names are spelled differently in signature registers. So even these incredibly important women who had, marriages that had all these political implications, their names didn't have standard spellings. So this is new. And that means that there's a lot of variety out there. The third reason that we have so many different spellings, and one of the ones that fascinates me the most, is that it depends on how you hear it. Okay, think about Annalisa. It's a German smoosh, two names put together, of Anne and Elizabeth, or Anne and a nickname for Elizabeth. But if you hear it and you're a native English speaker, you're going to hear that as Anne smooshed with Lisa. The German spelling is Anneliese. That doesn't make any sense if your only language is English. You're going to spell it Annalisa. So, how you hear it matters a lot. And of course, that can inform lots of things. If you first hear a name on a television show or a movie, if you encounter it spoken as opposed to written, you're going to make your assumptions about how it's spelled. And if it's an uncommon name, or if you hear it just a little bit differently, you're going to have your assumptions about what that name looks like. And that's valid. Lots and lots and lots of names catch on that way. So there's that piece as well. I'm not sure exactly why the creators of the Gilmore Girls spelled the main character's name Loralei instead of Lorelei. Ooh, did I say that correctly? I'm telling you, spelling is hard. But in any case, so when a non-standard spelling catches on with a really popular television character, then again, it's going to spread. So, what do? If you can't necessarily get the correct, the gold star answer, what do you do instead? Okay, I've got two suggestions. Suggestion number 1, know the dominant spelling. Go to the United States Social Security Administration website. It's ssa.gov, G-O-V. Search for baby names. Pull up your name, the name you're thinking about giving your child, and look at any possible other way to spell it. You can look at the US Top 1000. You can search just on that name and it will suggest alternate spellings that are also in the rankings. On the Social Security website in the United States, every spelling is considered a separate, distinct name and ranked accordingly. So if you look up Amelia, Amelia, it will give you how popular Amelia is, and on the left-hand side, it will also tell you how popular Amalia is. Less, but it's still out there. So that's option number 1, know the dominant spelling. If you have no strong opinion, it's almost always best to go with the dominant spelling. Now be aware that these change. Not so long ago, Zoe, Z-O-E, was more popular than Zoe, Z-O-E-Y. But along came a little television series on Nickelodeon called Zoe 101. Parents took notice. It made a little more sense to them because it looked like Joey, which is a name we're very familiar with. And now Z-O-E-Y is the dominant spelling of Zoe. But using the dominant spelling for the year that your child is born is always a good approach. Second thing, if you're not going to use a dominant spelling, aim for phonetic transparency. Now, I cannot take credit for that phrase. I read it on the website of a bigger naming agency. But phonetic transparency is this great idea. It means that when somebody else encounters the name, are they going to read it as it's spelled? Lots of traditional names don't conform to this rule. Michael, what is A-E-L? Michael. But if you're going with a name that's less common, less familiar, or a spelling of a name that's less expected, then stick with something that someone's going to see it and read it as it's spelled. My daughter has a friend who is Madeline, M-A-D-O-L-I-N. It's no problem. You look at it, you know how to say it. You're a little curious about why they made that choice, but it's just Madeline spelled a different way. So if you do that, are you going to have to spell your child's name all the time? Yeah, you are. But that's not the end of the world. At least if they can write their name down on a form, and when somebody calls it out, they might pause for a minute, but they're mostly gonna get it right. So, to sum up, there are no correct spellings. I'm so sorry about that. I wish there were, but there aren't. The best you can do is know what's most common, and when you do make your choice, make a choice that's going to serve you and your child well over the course of their lifetimes. Choose the name you love with confidence. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you soon.